Hey, I'm glad that you've joined us today because we have an exciting devotion today because we're going to be talking about mighty God. So let's go right now to our devotion. The prophet Isaiah spoke about the coming of Christ, the coming of the Messiah. And when he prophesied, he gave a description of the person that would come, the Messiah that would come. The Bible says a child would be born, a son would be given. And the Bible shows us that Jesus was that child that was born, the son that was given. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. But then he goes on in his prophecy to say that his name would be Everlasting Father, Mighty God. One of the names ascribed to Jesus in this prophecy was Mighty God. You see, Jesus was no mere man. He was not just another great religious leader. He wasn't just a good teacher or a very moral man. He was, is, and always will be Mighty God. He is the creator of the universe. Oh, I remember when I was reminded in the early 1970s of this great name of God. I was in the city of East Berlin. And by the way, Berlin was a divided city at that time. East Berlin was communist, West Berlin was free. In the communist sector, they did not have freedom. And so I went in there to preach and to proclaim the gospel. And I was desiring to somehow minister to the people, but it was so difficult. And I met an old man, and he told me, he said, "Young man, next summer, there are going to be 100,000 communist, atheist young people gathered here to be trained to reach the world for atheism and communism." He said, "I want you to pray about coming and telling them about Jesus." I looked at the old man and I said, "Sir, I don't think that they would allow that. I don't think that I would be able to come in here and talk to them. That would be impossible." And he looked at me and he said, "Our God is a mighty God. They will be no match for him." And he knew the power and the majesty and the might of God. And so he said, "You pray about it." Well, I prayed about it. I went back, and I won't tell you the story today, but I'll tell you at another time. But I tell you what, two friends of mine and I infiltrated that meeting of 100,000 communist, atheist young people, and we began to share Jesus with them and talk to them about Jesus. And we saw the glory of God. God moved. And there were a lot of efforts that the communists threw against us to try to stop us. And they couldn't do it. They couldn't do it. They even sent in young people to break up our meetings. And when they did, there was a pour down of rain. And everyone fled. And we ran into this, what they call a big Durchgang, a big covered area. And young people followed us. And they came around there and we preached the gospel freely to them. God is a mighty God. And God enabled us to do that. Yes, that old man was right. He knew God. He knew Jesus as mighty God. Our God is a mighty God. Jesus is the mighty God. Trust him. He will do great and mighty things that you know not.